Jack Wilson loved teaching history, not just the dates and facts, but the stories of bravery, rebellion, and freedom that made America what it is today. His students saw him as more than a teacher. He was a storyteller, someone who could make the Bill of Rights feel as thrilling as a blockbuster movie. But Jack wasn't one to leave his principles at the door, and on a brisk Monday morning, he walked into school wearing his bright red MAGA cap. To him, it was a simple gesture, like wearing his favorite sports team's colors. To others, it was the equivalent of setting off fireworks in a library. As Jack stepped into the teacher's lounge, the energy shifted. Conversations about weekend plans and lesson prep died mid-sentence. A few colleagues threw side glances that could cut steel, while others muttered behind their mugs like they were auditioning for a gossip column. Jack felt the shift in the room, but simply smiled and poured himself a coffee. He wasn't here for a popularity contest. The students, however, were far less subtle. By second period, whispers turned into stifled laughs. A few phones discreetly emerged to snap pictures, and by lunch, social media was buzzing with captions like, "Mr. Wilson's hat has more personality than half the staff." Jack, oblivious to the online frenzy, focused on his students, teaching them about the Constitution and how it was designed to protect free speech, including speech some might find disagreeable. But not everyone was impressed by Jack's living civics lesson. By lunchtime, the school's principal, Diane Carter, a woman who could make a motivational poster feel intimidating, summoned Jack to her office. Her expression was as warm as a tax audit. "Jack," she started, her tone clipped. "We've received complaints about your choice of attire." Jack leaned back, adjusting his hat. "Complaints? Over a hat? Diane, the dress code doesn't ban headwear." Diane's smile was as thin as her patience. "It's not just a hat, Jack. It's what it represents. Parents are calling, the staff's uncomfortable, and I need to protect the school's image." Jack tilted his head, feigning curiosity. "And here I thought schools were about education, not PR campaigns." By day's end, an emergency school board meeting was called. Jack was placed on administrative leave, effective immediately. The news spread faster than lunchtime gossip, turning Jack into a town-wide spectacle. Half the town rallied behind him, calling him a hero for free speech. The other half demanded his resignation, accusing him of using his classroom as a soapbox. As Jack packed up his desk, his students surprised him with a homemade sign reading, "Thanks for teaching us what courage looks like." Jack smiled. If this was the hill he had to stand on, at least he wasn't standing alone. The review turned into the social event of the season, or at least it felt that way. The school board meeting was packed to the brim, with parents, students, and even a few reporters squeezing into the cramped auditorium. One side waved signs reading, "Free speech matters," and chanted slogans like they were at a rally. The other side came armed with their own banners, including gems like, "Keep politics out of the classroom." Diane Carter, standing at the podium, looked like she'd rather be anywhere else, possibly a dentist's chair, than wrangling this circus. Jack Wilson sat calmly in the front row, his MAGA cap perched on his head like a badge of honor. He watched the chaos unfold with the air of a man who'd seen worse. Diane banged her gavel repeatedly, her voice rising above the din. "Please, let's keep this respectful," she pleaded, though respect seemed as likely as snow in July. When it was finally Jack's turn to speak, the room quieted to a dull murmur. He rose slowly, taking his time to approach the microphone. "I didn't wear the hat to provoke anyone," he began, his voice steady and measured. "I wore it because I believe in the values it represents. If we start punishing people for their beliefs, what are we teaching the next generation? That dissent is dangerous? That standing up for what you believe in comes with a price tag?" A ripple of applause broke out from the free speech section, only to be drowned out by boos from the opposition. Jack turned to address the room directly. "We teach history so we don't repeat its mistakes. Neutrality is important, but silence in the face of oppression isn't neutrality, it's complicity." Diane cleared her throat sharply, her expression pinched. "Thank you, Mr. Wilson. The board will now deliberate." Deliberate they did, though it felt less like a discussion and more like a formality. The decision was swift: termination. Diane delivered the verdict with all the warmth of a parking ticket. As Jack walked out, the audience split, some cheering, others booing. His cap remained firmly on his head. That evening, as he packed up his classroom, a group of students appeared in the doorway. "Mr. Wilson," one said, their voice quivering, "you're the best teacher we've ever had. Don't let them get you down." Jack smiled, his resolve solidifying. He tipped his cap. "This isn't the end. It's just the beginning." The media frenzy refused to let go. What started as a small-town controversy quickly became headline fodder. Jack Wilson, the fired history teacher in the MAGA cap, wasn't just a local story anymore. He was a symbol. Pundits debated his case on cable news, hashtags trended, and his phone buzzed with requests for interviews. Jack, ever the teacher, seized the moment. On local talk shows, he tackled free speech, political bias, and the dangers of cancel culture with the same steady calm he used in the classroom. "I didn't ask for this attention," he told one host, leaning forward in his chair. "But if it gets people talking about what really matters, respecting differences and standing up for your beliefs, I'm all in." With each appearance, his supporters grew. Late one night, Jack sat alone at Marcy's diner, nursing a lukewarm cup of coffee. The neon sign buzzed faintly, and the place was nearly empty except for a couple arguing over pie flavors at the counter. Jack liked the quiet. It gave him space to think. "Jack!" a familiar voice called out. Turning, he saw Tom Jenkins, a broad-shouldered man with a salt and pepper beard and the kind of smile that made you think he knew something you didn't. Tom slid into the booth opposite Jack without asking, setting his coffee down with a thud. "Tom," Jack greeted, amused. "You lost or just nostalgic for diner food?" "Neither," Tom said, leaning in conspiratorially. "I've been watching you, Jack. You've got something. People listen to you." Jack snorted. "They listen because I wore the wrong hat to work." Tom waved a hand. "Doesn't matter why they started listening. What matters is they're still listening. Have you thought about running for office?" Jack nearly spit out his coffee. "Me? A politician? Tom, I'm a history teacher. I grade essays and eat too much diner toast." "Exactly," Tom said, pointing a finger for emphasis. "You're relatable. You don't talk like a politician, and God knows this town needs someone who doesn't. Think about it." Tom's pitch stuck with Jack. After weeks of brainstorming, over late-night coffee and stacks of sticky notes, he decided to run for mayor. His slogan? "Teach them freedom." The campaign was on, and Jack's journey had just begun. The campaign trail wasn't easy. Jack faced fierce opposition, particularly from the current mayor, Linda Marsh, who painted him as divisive and unfit for leadership. But Jack's calm demeanor and relatable nature won over voters. He held town halls, listened to people's concerns, and emphasized unity over division. His viral moment came during a live debate when Linda accused him of being out of touch. Jack responded with a line that became the cornerstone of his campaign. "If standing up for free speech and treating people with respect makes me unfit, then maybe we need a new definition of leadership." Election night was electric. As results poured in, it became clear. Jack had won by a landslide. The same community that had once ousted him now celebrated him as their new leader. During his victory speech, Jack stood on the steps of City Hall, his MAGA cap in hand. "This isn't just about me," he said. "It's about every single person who's ever been told to sit down, be quiet, or stop believing in what they stand for. Today, we've shown that courage and respect can lead to change." The crowd erupted in cheers, and Jack became a symbol of resilience and unity. The teacher who had been fired for his political views was now the mayor, proving that sometimes the greatest lessons come from life itself.